Team feels good coming out of fall camp, but what is the reality this year with the Utah State Aggie football season? Thanks for listening to the Aggie Up podcast. This is Isaac Draxler. I'm your host. A few things happened tonight. Our guest this week. We were planning on getting some input from some of the Wisconsin media members and the Scout site over in Wisconsin, but something came up as well as some of the other normal contributors tonight. So I'm flying solo. I'll be the host and the only contributor tonight. So thanks for listening. Only a couple days away from the season opener against Wisconsin. As far as fall camp, it has been a really competitive year, as Matt Wells, or I guess, camp, as Matt Wells mentioned in all of his interviews. There have been a lot of position battles. There have been new guys that have stepped up. Obviously, the offensive line, 5 new starters, basically junior college guys have all stepped up on the offensive line, as well as a transfer from BYU. So all transfers have really taken over those 5 spots on the offensive line. And it'll be exciting to watch. Obviously, they're starting out with a tough test against Wisconsin. So that's one of the things, first and foremost, that I'll be watching for is I want to see how good that offensive line is, how nasty or improved or changed they are from last year. It'll be fun to watch that, and like I say, it'll be a big test and a big key to the game. Playing a Wisconsin team that's gonna run the ball, they're gonna be physical, and they win games by being more physical than the other team. So that's really going to be a big test. And if Utah State can match that on the offensive line, that'll be a good sign. Good sign for the season and good sign for the game. So that's really something I'm watching for. Same thing with the defensive line, but on the I guess complete opposite as far as expectations maybe. The defensive line I don't have huge expectations for, based on the basically the returning experience, as well as maybe some of the talent and some things on the defensive line. I do think the the nose guard, the nose tackle position, the inside lineman, I think will really hold their own. I think they have a lot of talent, and I'm excited about the defensive line. In that way, it's just the defensive ends. So I think we could see 4 at times, 4 defensive linemen against such a physical, big offensive line. I think we could see that at times with a couple, as many as 3, what you would think of as nose tackle or nose guard position players. With Mo Wasike playing on the line at more of a defensive end or a nose tackle, and Schuster and Unga as well. So that may be their best way to go as far as eating up those blocks and maybe matching some of that size and physicality. I think that's really the number one, even above the offensive line. Something I want to really watch to see. Same thing, more than anything. I'll be watching that Wisconsin game, wanting to see or expecting to see certain things, not just for that game, but for the whole season. So, our first question that came on Twitter was fill in the blank. I want to see ... this year against Wisconsin to feel good about it or whatever. And really more than the final score, that's what I want to see. I want to see the offensive and defensive line be successful and prove, show it on the field, I guess, and prove how good they are. I think, I guess I have more confidence in the offensive line than the defensive line at this point. But some of those young guys or some of those combinations of guys may really surprise everybody, may really surprise me, which would be great, to see. So that is our first question of the night. And if my computer didn't go down, I would give credit to the person who asked that. But I guess the strengths of the team against Wisconsin are the things that I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about the cornerbacks or the defensive backfield in general, the safeties. I think those guys will come up big. One thing that I will be looking for, that being said, is if Dallin Leavitt is the leading tackler, or Aaron Wade is making a bunch of tackles, or Jalen Davis, or something like that. I take that as a bad sign, because the defensive line needs to make plays. The linebackers need to make plays and be in the right spot to make a lot of those tackles. So there's really no reason that between Sully and Christiansen and some of the linebackers, there's no reason that those guys shouldn't be making those plays. And in the rare situation, obviously, that they have to eat up blocks and maybe the safety's up or whatever the case may be. If a safety's making a play with a 2-yard gain, that's okay. But if safeties and cornerbacks are making all the tackles after 6, 7, 8 yards a pop, that's obviously a really bad sign. So another thing I'm looking for, as far as those linebackers and defensive backs, just the speed, the change from last year. So last year the linebackers a lot of times were in the wrong spot. A lot of times were slow and couldn't make plays. This year, with 3 new linebackers, at times, 2 or 3 out of 4 will be new guys along with Justice Tay, who's going to take a step up as a sophomore, and it'll be fun to watch those guys, especially the new guys, step up with Sully in the middle and really Chase Christiansen become the leader of that group and be kind of the leader and the solid middle linebacker that Utah State has come to expect. Some of the the forgotten pieces that or the pieces that maybe could go either way will also be really interesting to watch as far as the wide receivers. What'll happen with the new offense if the ball be spread out, if the wide receivers can make some plays, break some tackles, make some things happen. The whole defense, getting turnovers, and the offense not making turnovers will be a huge key. The other key, and maybe the number one key, as we saw in 2012 early, was the number one key was special teams. And if special teams can come through and have a good day, help with the field position battle, that's going to be a key to the game as well. And not only to the game. I keep mentioning this. I'm like a broken record, I guess, at this point. But it's really a key to have good field position. Really important to see more from the special teams units to show what maybe they can be this season. a lot of questions on Twitter about the season. So I'll get to that. But really, this game on Friday will show a lot to what's going to happen this season, in my opinion. So really have to kind of see what happens on Friday, and then I think we'll be able to make more of a prediction for the season, and kind of think more about the upcoming weeks as they approach, because some of these games are tough to call right now. As far as at Wake Forest, the BYU game, some of those swing games, even Wyoming at home, CSU at home, some of those games that are, could go either way. Maybe you win some, you lose some. Maybe if things, if they lose those 4 games, then it's not going to be a good season, really. Because really, in the end, if you lose to Wake Forest, Wyoming, Colorado State, and BYU, and Wisconsin, that's 5 losses. So, are you going to beat every other, and Boise State for that matter? So, really, you lose 5, add Boise State, and that's 6 losses. I don't like to do math on air while I'm in front of a live mic, but that's definitely going to be a bad side if that happens. So it really is. It's not easy to win those remaining games or those other games either. It's not easy to go on the road and win 3 or 4 games, whatever that is, no matter who you're playing. So definitely got to take care of some of those swing games, and we'll know more about this team after Friday. So we'll continue after this. So as always, let me remind everyone, this podcast is brought to you by Scout.com, UStateAggies.com. That's the Utah State Scout site. Go check it out. There's some promotions coming soon. If you're a former subscriber, there are new specials. So anyway, definitely go to UStateAggies.com. If you have questions, or if you're thinking about signing up for a premium subscription, or you're a current subscriber, or take that back, or if you're a former subscriber, there are specials depending on if you come back as a yearly subscriber, if you pay for the year, or if you come back on a monthly subscription. So definitely stay tuned. If you have any questions about that, definitely shoot a DM or a tweet to UState Aggies on Twitter, or Aggie Up on Twitter, and we can get you some more information about that. We can get your information and make sure you get that promotion when you sign up for the subscription, or come back to being a subscriber on the Scout Network. So if you pay for the year, you get 3 months free. If you're if you're paying monthly, you basically pay for a month and you get a free month. So good deals, definitely worth it to get all the inside details on the Aggie programs, football, basketball. We're definitely going to increase that and improve the Aggie coverage all the time, and really get the inside information first before anybody else. So check it out. Go to UStateAggies.com. We'll definitely have a lot of information. It's been a little bit busy with some of the changes to the site, so the design has changed a little bit. We'll add a lot of pictures and things to galleries of pictures and everything from the Wisconsin game. We'll be out there covering that game, so look for that. Pretty cool stuff coming. So definitely check it out. So, that was one of the other questions on Twitter, if I remember right. What's basically a winnable game? What's one of the more winnable games that they may not be favored in? Really the Wake Forest game maybe, it's hard for me to go out, but if I go out on a limb, but if I had to rank the away games or those games, I'd definitely put the home games against like Wyoming, maybe most winnable. Then maybe some of the away games, like I assume you're not including like the San Jose away game, or the New Mexico away game, or the Air Force away game, because really those three away games, if you're are must-win games if you want to go to a bowl game. San Jose State's a must-win game, New Mexico's a must-win game, and Air Force is a must-win game, even though they're road games. They're must-win games, and I'd probably go out on a limb and say to make a bowl game, you've got to win 4 games, 4 away games. So it'd probably be those 3 games plus like a Wake Forest, Wisconsin. Probably would have to win another away game, or really take care of business. Obviously, beat CSU. I mean, you got to get to 7 wins, I think, to get to a bowl game or guarantee a bowl game. And that was one of the other questions: is how many wins does Matt Wells need to win to have his job be safe and make season ticket holders happy? That is a good question. I think 7 wins is probably where you're looking. I think 6 wins, as I mentioned, you're probably not going to win all your home games. Those away games are not easy. It's not easy to win at Wake Forest. Not easy to win at Wisconsin. It's not easy to win all 3 of those winnable away games, as far as Air Force, at New Mexico, and at San Jose State. But I think really that 7 wins would make people happy. 6 wins and slip into a bowl game would probably, at least Matt Wells would keep his job, and everybody would move on and move forward and say, okay. No one would be jumping off the cliff, as far as panicking, I guess. 4 or 5 wins would be more of the disaster. Something that could happen, something that could make a change. So that's how I look at it. I could be wrong, so that's just my opinion. Bowl game this year, I think, would be big enough improvement to, I think, for most fans and the administration and boosters and everybody to say, okay, let's see what these young guys can do next year, because really, as I tweeted out a few times, these new guys and the basically the depth chart is young. They may not be all freshmen per se, but it's a pretty young team in that 4 or 5 guys are going to be seniors. You're going to lose a starting quarterback next season. You're going to lose a couple running backs. But I don't know. I don't think the drop off between the running backs is going to be a huge problem next year. The experience at quarterback may be an issue next year, but the talent is there, so it'll be fun to watch next season. So some of those things I think could be trending up, I guess. And so, 6-7 win season this year could lead to a good season next year, a really good season, an even better season next year. So, so that's what I expect, or that's what I think, most people would expect to see this year. And it's not an easy schedule. It's not an easy division. It's not an easy conference. And so, a lot of those games are not going to be easy. The easiest of the games are not going to be easy, whether in conference or out of conference, maybe outside of Idaho State. And even Idaho State, for that matter, is not going to be the easiest FCS win. But as far as, those wins, or those away games, the road has not been kind to Matt Wells coached football teams, so that's something you just have to look at and wait and see, I guess. So, Wisconsin, I guess, kind of jumping back to them. Wisconsin's going to be a pretty typical Wisconsin team this season, and they have had some. They've had some injuries at linebacker, and so that's one thing that I'll be watching on the Wisconsin side, is if those linebackers are, playing well. If that's kind of if there's any, I guess, weakness to that defense, I would think Utah State would have the talent to take advantage of that. As far as if that's, a linebacker covering the tight end, if that's the running back out of the backfield catching passes or running, obviously, if that's on the outside with a cornerback, I think there could be some mismatches. There could be some opportunities to take advantage of those, but really, I guess the question marks and the things to watch, it comes down, as always, to making plays. When you get that, when you get the that turnover, can you take advantage of it? Can you take the ball down and score? I think Wisconsin will be able to make those. Will make some mistakes at times, whether that's on defense or offense or turnovers. And Utah State has to be able to capitalize. I think Wisconsin's never going to be a high scoring team or anything, but and I think, and maybe I'll throw this out on Twitter as well, but I'll ask on this podcast, and we'll probably cover it in future podcasts. But is it more likely for this team this year to be able to score 30 points and win, obviously on offense, or is it more likely to defensively stop the other team and hold them under 20 points? Because looking back historically, I was going back and watching some games. I was looking back at some scores and some years, especially 2012 and 2013, and some of those games were really close. Some of those games I was at, like Wyoming, that I feel like really JoJo Natson was kind of the difference in those games, in some of those games. The defense played so well. The defense, held some of those, Colorado State teams and Wyoming teams and Hawaii teams. The defense was so good that they were able to hold those teams down and limit their scoring. And really Utah State came up with enough big plays to win. I don't think that you kind of have to have one or the other. If you can have both, by all means, that'll be an exciting season. That'll be a huge year, huge season. So if they can do both, they can kind of put it together like the 2012 season where they kind of had both. They had a high scoring offense and a really good defense. Then that'll be a really exciting season, a really good year, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will definitely have more information coming out. I'm just looking at Twitter for some of the other questions here. It looks like Sam McConkey, he tweets in, he says, teams we are most likely to upset. Also, is CSU that good? Because I covered most of the other question, is CSU that good? I think CSU is that good. I think CSU, I think is probably more of a complete team than Wyoming, for example. Wyoming has the best quarterback in the conference, but I think CSU probably has the first or second best team in the conference. I think Boise State deserves the benefit of the doubt as far as should be expected to be one of the top teams in the Mountain Division in the Mountain West, as well as San Diego State, I think. So those three teams, I think, are the most talented teams in the Mountain West, and I think that CSU game in Logan is going to be a really tough game. It's going to be a game that the Aggies are going to have to come out and play really well to win. The word for word, let me just read this question word for word from Utah Stizzy on Twitter. He says, how many games does Matt Wells need to win this season to keep his job? How many wins this season to keep season ticket holders happy? So I assume by the hashtag FireWells that I see on his Twitter, he's not a big Matt Wells fan, but Matt Wells needs to get to a bowl game this year. Absolutely. So, let's see. Sam was the one, Sam Briner, at Briner9er. He says, fill in the blank. You will be happy with the outcome of the Wisconsin game if blank. Answered that one, but I think there's a lot of different things I'll be looking for, a lot of things that I think will be able to tell us what to expect this season. By all means, after the first game of last season when Devontae Mays and everything, we could have jumped to conclusions and said, this offense is going to rush for 9,000 yards, but I think, I wasn't saying that by any means, but it's a little different situation when you're going up against Wisconsin, and then Utah State went and played USC for example, in years past. Those games have really shown a lot to predict the future, predict the season. So I'll be watching. There's a lot of different things that I have to see. I don't have to see a win. I don't have to see, a lot. I think I want to see a lot as far as, my eyes want to see. If some of these units, some of these players can come through and look good in this game. So that's definitely what I'll be expecting, or what I want to see. I just want to see this team, and then I'll be able to make judgment from there, I guess, or maybe more educated predictions as far as the season. So we'll see. That'll be fun to watch. I'll be in Wisconsin, so probably since I'm going and I'll be alive, that probably means the Aggies will lose. But you never know. So seems like my road trips last year were CSU, and that wasn't a good game to go to. Nevada, definitely not a good game to go to. Some of those that I seem to go, the Aggies don't always play the best. So it'll be fun. It'll be a great experience to go to Camp Randall. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good trip one way or another. So look forward to everybody should definitely follow Big Al Bornholt on Twitter. Make sure you're following him. We'll make sure we get as many pictures on Twitter and on the website as we can from Big Al. And I don't remember his exact. Oh, it is Big Al Bornholt. So Big Al Bornholt on Twitter. Check him out. Make sure you follow him. He's going to be there taking pictures, and so that's where you're going to have to go to get all your Aggie versus Wisconsin game pictures. So check it out. It'll be on the website as well. So go to ustateaggies.com. Maybe I'll do another podcast or something Friday or Saturday, and then next week we'll preview the Idaho State game. I'm going to try to get Brian Phillips to jump on that podcast to hear his thoughts on fall camp. I've definitely talked to him a lot as far as what his thoughts are, so I trust his opinion, and a lot of my opinions are from what he's seen at camp almost every day. But I want to hear more from him, and then Seth will probably jump on the podcast as well in the next few weeks. So definitely check it out. As you probably know, you may, depending on how you're listening to this, we do have our podcast on iTunes. We have our podcast on everything from Spreaker to iTunes to basically any podcast app or podcast station that you use. Just search for Aggie Up, and you can find the Aggie Up podcast. So luckily, we've been able to get on all of those, and really, I can't think of any that we haven't been on. So we're almost out of time. 45 minutes is usually the limit. Send me your thoughts. Send me your input. Send me your opinion on the score, as far as, are the Aggies going to be able to score more than 30? I think if they score more than 30, they can win. If they hold Wisconsin under 20, maybe this game will be a little bit different. Maybe it'll be more low scoring, but I think if the Aggies can hold Wisconsin under 20, they have a chance to win as well. So let me know what you think about this team. If you're expecting big things from the offense or big things from the defense, which you think is more likely, tweet me at Aggie Up, or put any comments on the podcast, and I'll get those as well. Like us on those podcast apps. Follow us. Whatever, I think different ones have different things. Subscribe to the feed, and we really appreciate that. Helps us get out there more, and get more listeners. So We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. We will next time, I guess next week, we'll preview the Idaho State game and get you more Aggie coverage. Thanks for listening. And the one thing that I forgot to mention is one of the reasons why we do this is because, really, if we wrote all this content down, first of all, it'd be 10 articles, a huge amount of information we can share through these podcasts. So, and you can listen to them in your car, you can listen to them anywhere, which is a lot easier than reading a bunch of articles, I think, kind of the way of the future. But that being said, we can get a lot more information. So we love the interaction. We love the questions, anything like that, any feedback we can use and take and go from there. So anyway, hope you enjoy it. Hope you get something out of these podcasts, and thanks for listening. See ya.